There we go. I think that worked. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Mental Health Monday. I am MommaFoxFire. You are here with Even Tacos Fall Apart. Yes, growling. We are talking about more AI. We talked about AI probably about a month ago. We had someone talking about AI. We're going to talk about it from a little bit of a different perspective tonight. I'm very excited for this conversation. Very excited for our guest. But you guys know the deal. It is Monday. If you have questions, if you're here live and you have questions, feel free to pop them into the chat. We do have a question queue open if you would like to ask our guest anything related to AI. And exclamation point Q, follow that with your question. If you're here with us on YouTube and you want to ask a question, go ahead and just ask it in the chat and I'll make sure to keep an eye out for that. But I would like to introduce our guest tonight, Karin Stephan. Well, see, I'm already tripping over it. That's okay, though. I would like to welcome Karin. Thank you so much for taking the time out today and joining us here.
Yes, pleasure. Mental Health Monday. I love it. Just the title, Even Tacos Fall Apart, all about what you do is so creative. So it's such an honor to be here.
Yeah, I love the name. I love the name so much. I'm so glad that's where we landed with it. It just speaks to me on a somewhat visceral level sometimes. But let me tell y'all a little bit about Karin and then we will dive right in. Karin is a visionary leader and serial entrepreneur with over 3 decades of business experience. Her passion for empowering people to reach their true potential led her to co-found EarKick, an AI-powered companion that measures, assesses, and improves mental health in real time. With degrees in music, management, psychology, and digital management, she leverages technology to serve humanity. Having spent most of her life abroad, Karin continuously picks up new languages and thrives on outdoor sports while striving to decode human behavior, which is such a cool thing. And I do have several links if y'all are looking to connect with Karin. I've got a couple links for LinkedIn, some websites, some Twitter, some Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all of them. So feel free to click through any of these if I can get them to send. Here we go. And connect with Karin. And again, Karin, thanks for joining us today. I'm excited for this.
Reach questions or anything, I'm just an email or message away.
Absolutely. I'm having a little trouble getting this one to send, but I think it's just on YouTube that's causing a problem. It looks like it's going through on Twitch. And we do already have a question in the question queue. And that is from Bite Mark. And she would like to know, what is your favorite poem? And I love this because it's like a getting to know you kind of question. So what is your favorite poem?
You know, I don't have a favorite one, but just lately I'm trying to remember. I've been reading poems about joy, and there is a very beautiful one that is about how joy chooses you or chose you. It is by Donna Ashworth, and I recommend you guys look it up because it's so simple. It's not the complicated thing. It just joy chose you and why it chose you, how it feels. And it ends by saying you cannot truly invite her. You can only be ready when it happens, and hug her with meaning, because it is in this very moment joy chose you. That's how it ends. But I encourage you, go look it up. Poems in and of itself, I think they're a magic power almost. So check it out. It doesn't really have a mathematical meaning or anything, like you can't turn it into riches but like music, poems and poetry can be the key to a secret and magic garden within you. So thank you for that question. It's a really beautiful one.
Yeah, I love that. And I did just post a link if anyone's wanting to go and read that poem. You can click through to that and give it a read. I love that answer. I love this question. First of all, it's great. Bite Mark comes and asks it pretty much every week. And it always leads us into different places, and it's so cool. And I love it. So Bite, thank you for that. Thank you for joining and asking that question for sure.
Yeah, I to that point, I one of my bucket list points is that I want to go back to memorizing poems
Mm.
because they're so powerful sometimes, and especially in moments where maybe you have a blank page in your head or you're nervous or and you can recite that. It's almost like a mantra or a self-affirmation. And it's very powerful, but it requires you to memorize it and to carry it within you. And I love that idea.
Yeah, yeah. It's nice to have something to just call up in your head and say this is something that I don't need anything else to be able to lean on it. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, you describe yourself as a serial entrepreneur. What does that mean and what kind of drew you to being an entrepreneur to begin with?
It's a great question. You know, I when I became an entrepreneur, it wasn't a thing. At least it wasn't as popular as it is nowadays. But basically, I love creating and I love building new things and, coming up with ideas that turn into something that then create value for someone else and for myself. And it comes with the urge or the joy of assuming ownership and responsibility, where you can explore uncharted territories and challenge the status quo. And I've always been thrilled by all these ideas. And I started working aged 11 and created my first company in my early 20s. And I never regretted embarking on an entrepreneurial roller coaster, even though it can be very taxing. So the passion is that there is always something new coming your way. You cannot just rest and go like, okay, I know this, because you don't know. And I have found joy in not knowing and going to explore, going to find out answers, and having this open-mindedness that maybe in, let's say, a corporate job, I may have lost. So that's why my passion is to be on my own, basically, and assemble a team and go from idea to really a product or a service, and then see and put it out into the world and see what happens and what comes back.
I love that you describe it as a joy because I think to a lot of people that's probably really scary, like terrifying to be like, I'm going to start this thing. Oh shit, it's all on me. But you're talking about it
You
like
know,
it excites you. It's what gets you going, you know?
it's like the roller coaster. It's very exciting, and at times it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the good thing is you're not alone in this. You're not the only one doing this, and if you manage to have someone sitting next to you, walking next to you, at least for some stretches, then it's really what I call feeling 100% alive, because things are moving, and you cannot rest on any laurels if there are any.
Mhm.
You have to stay engaged with life and with all parts of lives. And to the point of feeling like it's scary or risky or, all this responsibility, if you go into it with a child mind attitude and you kind of go like, I'll do my best, you'll find that it's very exciting. And people take ownership and have projects all the time. Organizing a birthday party is sort of some kind of entrepreneurship, because you take the responsibility, you invite people, you have skin in the game. And typically, yeah, it is a lot of work and it is some risk, but the reward is amazing. And I would encourage much more people to go out and build something on their own.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's, it's kind of that risk reward, right? If you don't take any risk, that's low reward. But if you take that risk, sometimes you get that higher reward. But I love it. Your passion comes through for sure. And you also mentioned you've lived abroad, and we were talking a little bit before we started about where you're living now and where you've lived before and everything. So how has your experience with living abroad and learning new languages influenced your approach to both mental health and maybe entrepreneurship and technology side as well?
Yeah. You know, I realized over the years again and again how important it is to feel heard and to feel understood and validated. Um, you want to belong and you want to feel like you are part of a community, and that happens, via exchange, via conversations, sharing what is meaningful and what's hurting and what's making you happy. And I took that for granted before I started to learn all these languages and exposing myself to cultures and people that I didn't know. And I grew very aware of the vulnerability that's required to show up somewhere and accept that you don't know, and accept that you don't have the words, and accept that things can be done differently than you do them, right? And so it can get very lonely and very dark if you do not have that kind of connection and a way of feeling home even when you're not home. Mm-hmm. So learning languages is one part of making that connection happen. Even if you can only say hello and how are you and I want a beer or something. And the other one is technology. Staying connected with back home, with loved ones, with friends, keeping up those ties when you have to leave the country again or do something else is so much easier with technology. Learning languages is so much easier with technology. And also, kind of being there for each other is so much easier with technology. So in essence, what I realized is that we are social beings and we need, again, to feel heard. We need to be able to express ourselves and to feel and see that it has an effect on the other side. And much of this has gone into my current company, where it's all about feeling heard, being able to express yourself, feeling understood, and getting some validation.
Yeah. I mean, I know that there's plenty of apps and everything to help you translate some stuff, but do you think that it's different if you're using an app to translate something versus being able to speak and converse in the language with someone just more naturally? Is there a difference to you, or do you think that technology really helps bridge that gap and bridge that kind of connection?
Well, technology can only do for you what you intend to do. Like if you're using technology to find your way or to say something nice, and the goal is to bring value to this world or to someone, then technology is the perfect tool, right? But if you go through the trouble of learning a language, really learning it, not having to rely on technology because you want to show your respect towards others, that's fine too. In the end, for me, technology is an end, a means to the end, and not in and of itself so super important. Technology only matters if you can improve someone's life, if you can add benefit. That's when technology just is priceless, right? But the intention has to be good. The intention has to be one that benefits humanity, not the other way around.
Yeah, I like that. Do you have a favorite podcast, or is there a podcast you wish more folks would take the time to listen to?
I think I'm podcast addicted, maybe. I love podcasts for so many reasons. When that came up, it was like, of course, why hasn't that always existed? For me, podcasts are a way of creating your own imagination of what is going on, and letting your inner colors and representations really fly. And one of the podcasts that I really like, and I have been listening to for ages, I guess, is How I Built This. It's by Guy Raz. Yeah, and it's as we spoke before, being an entrepreneur or founding something, taking risk is all about the true and authentic journey. It's not the rock star journey. It's not the, oh my gosh, I'm so amazing and I made so many millions and I did all that. That's what people maybe want to hear in the end. But what is actually important is how you got through all these challenges. How did you come up with an idea? What was in your way? And there are just so many ways that you can go wrong, so many ways that you can go lucky, so many ways that someone else gave you a hand. And, even though the stories are full of ups and downs, you always walk away from that podcast with a new encouragement, with a new spark, with a new perspective, also on different markets and different industries. You grow respect for all these people out there trying their best. And it takes away some of the perceived loneliness sometimes when you get a struggle. I don't know how to solve this problem, and you think of all these people out there who are in the same boat and didn't give up, right? So I love that one. There is also Adam Grant's Rethinking or Work Life. It's about organizational psychology, basically how humans tick at work. I like that particular one, especially because it's all about the rethinking. You have a certain opinion or you have a certain perspective, and to constantly challenge that means to open a door for new adventures, and also making yourself vulnerable to others, and hopefully learning something on the way.
Yeah. I have not listened to the rethinking. That's one that I haven't listened to. But if I had thought about it ahead of time, I wonder if I could have guessed that How I Built This would have been one of your favorites, because it's such like an entrepreneur's just dream to listen to that podcast and hear how people did all of these different things. And it's always different. It's always a different story. It's always new. You could hear about the same thing in the same industry, but two different people talking about it. And it's like, this is totally a different way that they did this, but they achieved something similar. It really is a really good one. But I'll have to give Rethink. I haven't heard of that one, so I'll have to give that one a listen.
Imagine you could talk about mental health in the same way, where people would just bang on your door and say, I want to talk about mental health. Such a cool topic, and let's do all this. I wish, or hopefully soon, that will be the case, and it'll have just as much of a draw and of an attention, actually, what it deserves.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I want to change a little bit to talking about AI and mental health, and I want to start on this a little bit, on kind of a little bit of a soft touch, because I'm interested to know what some of the key innovations in mental health that you think are really revolutionizing the way that we approach mental well-being, before we get into necessarily specifics on AI.
Sure. Yeah. So, ask your question.
I mean, that kind of is what are some of those innovations that you've seen that you think are changing the way we approach mental health and mental well-being?
Yeah. One of the huge frustrations, not just for me, but for many, many people, is that we got it all covered when it comes to monitoring and measuring and assessing other parts of the body. Be it your liver or, your skin, your blood. We're all very far in doing this, and we're used to having very granular information about that, scanning things. But when it comes to the brain and when it comes to mental health, we're still in the dark ages, or we were at least, until AI really showed what it can do for the measurement and assessment. And why is that so important? Because typically we know better in hindsight. We, in hindsight, know, oh, this was a triggering event, or, oh, this is when I started to spiral downwards, or, these and these things already pointed towards what was going to happen. And it's so frustrating to always have to react rather than be proactive. So what AI is bringing to the table, and is what is really important, is that we have AI-driven mental health monitoring, which means that we can, in an effortless way, and also in a very objective way, keep an eye on our journey, and kind of know our patterns, get to know our patterns, and have a heads up when things kind of go downwards. In mental health, timing is everything, because the onset of mental health disorders is often many, many years earlier than we get support or we realize it. Because in the beginning, it always feels like everything else. Is it a headache, or is it the onset of an anxiety disorder? Is it, a bad day, or is it already a bad trend? It's difficult in daily life to connect all these dots and kind of keep it in your head and know where you're at. AI does a very good job at sensing that. It does a very good job at connecting the dots. It does a very good job at keeping the record for you. And that's one of the things that AI really brings to the table. You can, at EarGeek, for example, we utilize very advanced AI algorithm to analyze various biomarkers, which include voice and video, typing behavior, fitness tracker data, weather data, etc. And that allows for continuous and unobtrusive tracking of an individual's mental health state. And it provides timely insights and interventions. And that is so important because when you look back, very often a small actionable suggestion could have changed the whole trajectory of what was going on. I always tell the story of when I was a kid. I wished for a little helper in my ear because my parents were fighting. I was very anxious about that and about many other things. And it would have been enough to have some kind of voice telling me, hey, it's okay, like it's not your fault that they're fighting. And, take a deep breath, or, hey, look, there are so many other kids like you going through the same thing. Here's what you can do. But here you are then years or decades later struggling with things that, had they been recognized earlier or addressed earlier, wouldn't have snowballed into what they maybe are. So AI-driven mental health monitoring is definitely one part of the equation. And then there comes the whole personalized aspect. If you measure something, if you monitor something, you can then react in a very personalized way. Because if you have an algorithm that knows you well, or knows your patterns well, knows what's going on around you and within you, then the intervention or whatever is suggested to you can be super personalized. Probably everyone can relate to when we get, suggestions that are just, general or sort of fit everyone, we don't really feel like it's for us. We don't feel like we've been paid attention to. We don't feel like it's exactly for our situation. And so making the suggestion and whatever you serve up fit exactly my situation right now and how I like it and how it gels best with me, that's something that increases the likelihood of me following that suggestion, of me accepting help, of me opening up.
Yeah.
And AI is very, very good at doing the math measurement and then coming up with the style, the portion, the language, and the way that you may accept best. So personalized, hyper-personalized digital companions is another one that is a game changer in mental health. And then there are, I'm not going to go into detail, I'm just going to say a few more things. There is psychedelic assisted therapy, and the whole ecosystem of that is AI powered and can open up huge opportunities. There's the wearable technology, for example, all the smart watches, smart devices that can track and monitor without being intrusive into your lives, and where it's really your sleep, your steps, everything is basically captured and can be turned into knowledge to serve your mental health. There is the telehealth and remote therapy part, which is not yet so AI heavy, but will become. And there are many other things, from VR to XR to all these opportunities we have, how we want to have support presented.
I love the thought that not only can this AI drive a timely response, but that personalized response. Because you're right, there's so much advice out there of like, oh, go get some sunshine, right? Go for a walk, go for whatever. But if you're getting a personalized recommendation, it's pouring cats and dogs outside, and it's not going to recommend you go for a walk. Like just having something as simple as a weather consideration at that moment for your exact location, I think can make a lot of an impact. Because if someone tells you go for a walk and you can't go for a walk right then, it's like, well, shit, I can't do what you're telling me to do. So what's the point? So it kind of prevents that a little bit, I feel like, or has the potential to prevent that. Well, it's not going to work for me, so never mind, kind of thing.
Yeah, you're right. And plus, I mean, there's many other layers that come on top of that. We, for example, in our case, we created a memory for the companion, or basically the reaction. So that means if you in the past used a certain action or a certain mantra to encourage you to go walking or to go get some sunshine, as you say, it will remember that. And as you know, we react much better to something that has already worked once. And when we're reminded that we have been successful with something before, or we have survived a certain situation before, hearing that in the right moment when you're exactly in the same situation or in something that you need that reminder for is so powerful. I use it myself for very mundane things. If I don't feel like going outside and doing my training, which I have to do for my mental and physical health, then I can disclose that to my AI and go like, oh, I really don't feel like, oh, it's raining outside. And then it would then answer in a way that makes me feel heard and validated. And I end up going anyways. Or if I'm nervous before going on stage, those seconds before you go on stage, there's literally no one that can come and get to know you in half a minute and then give you the right advice. But if you have an AI that knows you and knows that how you are a minute before you go on stage and can pull up that and tell you, hey, Karin, come on, it was the same last time, remember, in New York. And take a deep breath. You know exactly that you're nervous before such a such an event, and you did so great last time, just go out and get it. That's exactly what I need then. And it's so powerful because it fits my situation, it fits my personality, it fits my history, and that kind of memory level, that kind of technical level is just now becoming possible in terms of technology.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that. So I want to ask, where did the name Ear Kick come from? What does that mean for your business name?
Yeah, it's really goes back to my childhood, where I was really hoping to someday or have a sidekick, like this helper
Oh,
in my ear,
yeah. Okay.
my shoulder, and it's a sidekick, ideally that nobody sees. So it's just for me, and and for my support. And ear kick is because I was a musician in my first life. I know how powerful it is when you can hear something that others can't. Yeah, and it just, like, whether it's music or an advice or whatever, you can do it via your ear, by your hearables or AirPods, for example. And it doesn't look like you're getting help. It just looks like you're, a normal life. And the other point about that is that in the ear, we have a we have an international patent about measuring everything that's vital to your mental health in the ear. We're not there yet. That was the original vision, to create something that works in your ear, like earbuds, that measures, interacts, and does all that without you having to use your hands. And you can just walk through life, kind of be monitored and measured at your needs, and get the information you need, the support you need, served right to your ears without anyone noticing, whether it's breathing exercise, encouraging words, heads up, coaching of any kind. So ear and sidekick is ear kick.
I love that.
And right now it is an app. It's worked great with an app, but who knows? Maybe we'll continue and build out that hearable that I envisioned very early in my life.
It's funny because it reminds me of Ender's Game, and for Ender's Game came up just the other day, and it's come up within the past couple of months as well. But if you haven't read Ender's Game, or for anyone who hasn't read Ender's Game, part of that is an earpiece that the main character wears at some point. And this I won't, all right, so it's an old book, so it's not a spoiler, but if you're gonna go read it, like, it's integral to the story, and it is this thing that's feeding him information, and it becomes this, like, part of him, and it's so just like, it's helping him, it's informing him, it's doing all this stuff. So it makes me think of that, and it's funny to me that it keeps coming up. But if you haven't read Ender's Game, I'm not sure that doesn't happen in Ender's Game. It might happen in, like, the second book of the series, but very worth it to get through. At least the first 3 books are very, very worth it. I don't remember the 4th book very well, so it might not have been as good, but the first 3 are phenomenal.
I'll do that. Most people do know Her, though, the movie Her.
Yes, yeah.
It came up in 2013. Yeah, there are many ideas going towards this vision of, having timely support and having some entity, some companion, some friend that is really for you, that's on your side.
Yeah.
that just has your best in mind, because we're bombarded by advertisement, by news, by so many things all day long that kind of want our money, want our attention, want our everything. And we need something on our side. We need some sidekick. We need to have, or at least feel like, for once, we come first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Well, I just put a link to the movie Her if you're interested, and also the book Ender's Game. So if you're looking for either of those, I put in a Real Good and a Goodreads. Buy them wherever you want. Neither of those are purchasing sites. They're just information sites. So there you go.
13, like almost ages ago. And I want to say one thing to the movie Her, because I get asked a lot about that. It includes a love story and all that. That's not what I find so fascinating.
Yeah.
What I find really fascinating about that movie is that, there's this guy and he uses an operating system in his ear to help him cope. But in the end, when, I'm not going to go into details, but he finds his way back into the real world and back into real human connection, vulnerability, and the joy of being a human through the technology. Mm-hmm. And so when I get asked, is technology going to eliminate human support, or all these dystopian ideas, I point to that and remind people that technology is a tool. Mm-hmm. And if the intention behind the technology is good, you can serve humanity, and you should serve humanity. If the intention is not good, okay, then get out there and fight it. But we should not blame technology, because technology is just a tool, and the incentives behind it and the intentions behind it, that's where we have to be careful, and where we have to be very, pay attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm glad you went that direction with that line of thinking, because my next question is about misconceptions. So what are some common misconceptions that you've heard about using AI, especially for mental health, and how can people better understand these technologies that are coming up?
Yeah. Well, first, let me say that if we have misconceptions, or if we have, if it induces some kind of fear, in and of itself, that's good, because it makes us think about it, and because it shows that we care, right? So, but one of the questions that I get asked in every interview when media talks to me is ERG going to replace humans, human support, human therapists, all that? And the question is kind of, it's not the question that should be asked, but let me first get into it. AI complements humans. It complements human care by providing support between sessions, by enhancing capabilities of humans, with data insights, with being there all the time, with not having human barriers. So it's a tremendous opportunity for all kinds of humans to augment their own help or support. To increase the reach they have, and a tool that augments and not replaces you, is something that opens up the opportunity to finally tackle the current mental health crisis at scale. So no, I don't think AI is going to replace humans as such. But humans who do not accept or refuse to work with AI or get their hands dirty with it, their world may be replaced by people who do use AI. And the question, does AI replace human therapists, for example, is not the correct one to ask, because if we had a chance to catch up with all the therapists, all the human support that's currently needed and will be needed even more in the future, then we would just train more therapists and we would just, rely on that. But we have no way of catching that up. And every day that passes, people are struggling they have preventable struggles. They have ailments. They have issues that go unnoticed, that go untreated, that go unsupported. And as long as that happens now, at scale, asking a question whether AI is going to replace therapists is just ridiculous, right? Because what is AI going to replace? The waiting list? Is it going to replace all the human support that people can't afford? What are we talking about? You know, there are so many millions of people who would take any help, any support from machine men, women they could get, and they're not asked, right? They're not part of this discussion.
Yeah.
Well, that's one. Another one is a privacy concern, which privacy concerns are real, and people need to pay attention to where they're giving their data to, what happens to the data. But AI in and of itself does not mean that you're compromising your user privacy. If you pay attention, that there is a robust data protection, there is really privacy first measures in place, that confidentiality is ensured, then you don't have to worry about AI being something weird and super dangerous. You give it the power that you choose. And the more you educate yourself on AI and how things come together, the more you are in control of that. Then there is another one, which is, I think, is something that people often have watching these videos or movies where some robots come and take over and then it's the end of the world. We are already using a lot of technology, a lot of AI in our daily lives without questioning it. But somehow that doesn't talk to the other side of being afraid of some robots and being afraid of some power that's going to overwhelm us. We readily give away our attention, our feelings, our everything to social media and to algorithms that definitely don't have our best in mind. And we don't question that. But yet we're afraid of some robots coming to knock at our doors. And that's kind of a discrepancy or a misconception about AI, that it has some form or shape or some evil intention in and of itself. Evil intention, bad intentions are always human.
Yeah.
It's not machines that do that. And a more difficult one is the over-reliance on technology. And that's one that we should really take seriously. AI, a lot of people ask me, well, are we going to over-rely on technology or AI for mental health or for mental health care? And again, it's what you make it, right? AI provides an immense support by the capabilities that it has. It encourages proactive mental health management. It can teach you things. It can educate. It could, AI in the best way is designed to support and empower individuals. So the reliance on AI and technology is still our choice. And if we can overcome a very rough patch in our life because we have AI at our disposal, because we can do something, because we can have ownership, we should do that. And question the over-reliance on technology, yeah, that should happen too. But I think getting support that we deserve in the right time when we need it is way more important than worrying that we may over-rely on technology. I don't think humans are that stupid. And we, again, back to the human connection and back to being reconnected with our lives, with the people we love, we will always crave that. And we will always seek out to belong and to have relationships in the real world, with nature, with ourselves. And technology is a very good helper to help us connect and reconnect.
Yeah.
There are many more myths.
Oh yeah, I mean there's lots. There's lots
Yeah,
with AI.
I'm glad
There's
we're talking
questions.
about them.
Mm-hmm. Right,
Yeah,
right.
I'm glad we talk about it because, again, the only way, it's like in mental health, is through, right? We have to immerse ourselves and look at it from different perspectives. We have to have these robust discussions and not be bystanders. One reason why I decided to go into AI and found there was because I'm not leaving it to others. Mm-hmm. By training, I'm not an AI. I don't code.
Yeah.
I don't do the typical AI stuff, but I was not going to leave it to others. It's so important. It's not going to go away, and it's such an opportunity to do good. It's such an opportunity to do it right that I want to be part of that. And so that is my motivation to really dig deep into that.
Yeah, I love that. There's a great comment in the chat. Fight says, I wonder if I would have the same issue knowing it's an AI of wanting my therapist to like me, because it can't like me. It's not a person, and it might be easier to be honest. And I'll say one thing about that. The book that I just loaned you addresses this a little bit in ways that obviously are sci-fi and fiction and everything. And I can't wait for you to read it so we can talk about it. But I wonder, Karin, what your thoughts are on that. Just, are people more honest with AI because they're like, this is not a person, they're not going to judge me? Or is there still a little bit of like, I don't know, I got to kind of hedge a little bit because it's going somewhere, right? Is that still a concern, do you think?
No, people are, from what I know, from what they tell me, and from my own behavior. It's a very, very good remark. Whoever put that in the chat, congrats, because it's so important. We almost can't help to want to please someone or to want to at least be liked. That is normal. That's so human. And when you meet, let's say, a therapist, or you meet a counselor or someone, who you're going to open up to, we can't help but try to storytell a bit. We try to position ourselves because we're all afraid of being hurt. I am afraid of being hurt. I'm afraid of talking about some topics because they're very vulnerable, right? Sensitive. And so what we know from people who write to us, and what I know from my own experience, is that knowing that it's an AI, and knowing in our case that it's completely, like private, it's like so secure, then I feel safe to really vent, to share my inner thoughts and doubts, and to discuss things that I would feel uncomfortable discussing with a human being for several reasons. Maybe they're too mundane. Maybe I want to talk about a stupid, intrusive thought that keeps coming, right? There's only so much a person wants to listen to you if it's, over and over the same thing, and it's kind of ridiculous, right? But with an AI, the AI doesn't mind, Then the other thing is, I may not have clarity yet. And so I just, get it out there, and while I'm disclosing and opening up, I'm starting to sort it. And I don't have to worry whether an AI is going to understand me or not, think that I'm stupid or confused or whatever, because it has all the time of the world, right? I can just, I can just like kind of vomit the whole thing, and then together we work it out. And the other thing is, a lot of people, and I do relate to that feeling, feel like they're taking up the space somebody else should have, or the time of a human that somebody else should have. And now, we'll stand back with our little problems, or we'll just try to figure it out on our own. And you don't have that with an AI, because it's scalable. You don't. It can serve you and everyone else on Earth too. So you don't have that barrier, and it goes on, and loads of people have felt so judged and felt so much understood just because of physics, or because of their appearance or their accent, or what do I know, by another human. Maybe it's true that they're being judged. Maybe it's just in their head. Whatever it is, but it's uncomfortable, and it influences how much they're willing to open up, how they're going to be honest about what's going on, and how willing they are to take the response. And AI is really good at that. Really good at that.
Yeah. I like that. Well, gold star comment to Bite Mark. I can't believe we don't have a gold star emoji on this channel. We really should. Maybe I'll work on getting that on there, because that would be perfect for me, at least.
Oh, that's so cute. Thank you.
In what ways do you see AI playing a role? We kind of talked about this a little bit, but playing a role in early detection and prevention of mental health issues. Can you get into that a little bit more?
Yeah. Again, big frustrations in my life, that of people, relatives, friends, colleagues, over the decades. It always seemed like things came out of the blue. People would fall into burnout, or there would be suddenly a panic disorder. And you're like, where's that coming from? I never would have thought people being depressed, and looking fantastic on their photos, and you have no clue. And it makes you feel so powerless and so frustrated that you have to learn after the fact. And so the only way to claim back control and to feel agency is to find a way to know early. The earlier you know about an evolving issue, and they will be there because life is full of challenges, is to monitor it, to sense it in some way. And AI is really good at that, because we have ways of, for example, measuring your voice, how you speak, what you say, how you say it, how you type, how you behave in front of a camera, for example, how you speak about others or about things that have been happening in your life. And these deviations or these patterns are picked up by an AI constantly. They can do it. And it can make sense of it. It can assess it. And so if something were to happen and you know it much earlier, imagine, there's so much opportunity to do something in a timely manner and not wait too long. Because in essence, most of the mental health problems that are avoidable have to do with not noticing in time, or with having misconceptions about yourself and the world, or having thoughts that need challenging, right? And most of the problems start small before they become bigger problems, before they invite more problems. Whether it's addiction or anxiety and depression that needn't be, or whether it's some other kind of behavioral challenge that we develop because life throws us a curveball. Grief can turn into something horrible. Adverse childhood events can evolve into something that ruins your life. Now imagine you could step in early. I'm not saying that we shouldn't try to fix mental health. We shouldn't try to kind of oppress or do away with it, because mental health is life in essence. But knowing things before they go in the wrong direction, or before they become serious, is such a power. Imagine all the people that could rise up to their potential by having ownership over their mental health journey.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means for you not to depend on going to some doctor or like suddenly finding out, or taking some weird questionnaire that asks you for the last 6 months that you don't even remember. Imagine having a tool that does this for you without you even noticing, that does this continuously, and that gives you nudges, that supports you, and that makes you feel like, hey, you own this. Even in the darkest moments of your life, you own this. That's such a game changer. And that is actually only possible with AI right now.
Yeah. And you use the example of burnout. And I think that that's a really good example, because that is something that is generally preventable. Maybe anxiety isn't necessarily preventable if you catch it early enough. Sometimes there just is a generalized anxiety disorder. Sometimes that just happens. Or there are plenty of other examples of things that they are going to be what they are going to be. But there are also things that are preventable, like burnout. I wonder also, and maybe this isn't the necessarily best use for it or expectation, but what about like domestic violence situations? Do you think that it could help prevent those, or at least alert someone if they're using these things? Hey, this relationship has a lot of things that are maybe not right. Because I'm thinking about my own situation, and the fact that my therapist was integral to me identifying that I was in an abusive relationship and also exiting that relationship. And, maybe if I had had something like an AI companion of a sort, maybe that wouldn't have been the case. But what do you think about things like that?
Definitely. We those things happen, and we meet people who hurt us, and we get into situations who are horrible. But that doesn't mean that we have to stay there. And the more we have an entity or a person that can point to those patterns or can alert us to, hey, like the way you're speaking, is it sounds like you're not being valued, or it sounds like this and that. It can make you reflect early, because you don't suddenly wake up in an abusive relationship. That's a development, right? And it's not about blaming someone, but it's about having the awareness. Look, what is happening to you is hurting you. That's not normal. That's not how a relationship should be. Or remember how you were a year ago, and you seem to be crying much more, and you seem to, speak of yourself less positive. All these things happen slowly, and we lose track of them. And yes, it can prevent and can help you through these situations. How many of us are people pleasers? People pleasing, and I'm guilty of that too, can lead you into all sorts of trouble. That better after the fact, after you've been hurt, after you've been exploited. Wouldn't it be nice to be alerted to that tendency that you have, that you can change before, right? Or sometimes when I use EarKick, I say things that I'm not even aware of, where I may say things like, oh my God, I'm going into this conference, and all these people who are all, more intelligent as I said something to that tone. And immediately the AI said, wait a minute, intelligence does not make up your self-worth, and immediately getting that, thought pattern. And what starts small, again, can develop into a real problem, where a person with a personality disorder or with a bad intention can ruin your life if it doesn't go if it goes uncontested. And the same is true for relationships. A lot of people I know that use EarKick to communicate better. Imagine a mother with a teenager, both have their best intentions, but they clash. The teenager does not know how to express their feelings or say something that doesn't sound like a teenager and is not offensive. And the mother doesn't know how to not overreact, or maybe she doesn't know how to explain something that in a way that is not triggering. Now imagine both working with their Panda, with their EarCake, with their AI, and then having an easier way to find a common ground.
Yeah.
That can prevent so many problems. They're still good. The teenager is still going to go through puberty, and the mother is still going to have to learn throughout motherhood. But I think we all deserve some help. We all deserve support. And a lot of it has to do with communication. A lot of it has to do with triggers. A lot of it has to do with blind spots that we have about ourselves. Imagine, like coming from work and you have a toxic manager, you have an environment that's not good for you. Imagine going home without being able to vent your frustration, to discuss what's been happening to you, and you go straight home and you just, let it out. Your children are going to suffer. Your spouse is going to worry. Your dog is going to get kicked. All these things you could prevent by expressing yourself on the way home, by having a moment of reflection, a moment of perceived compassion and empathy. I say perceived because an AI does not really have compassion or empathy, but it can make you feel heard and can take some of the heat out of it. And it can maybe remind you over time that you should change your job. And if you can't change your job, at least you have someone to go to and to talk to. And so there are so many things in daily life that can change a whole trajectory just by being supported in the right time with the right word.
Yeah. Listen, I'm sold if it can help with teenager parenting. I have a teenager.
Stop.
I love him very, very much. But boy, those teenage moments happen sometimes, and it's difficult. It's difficult. And you're right, it does come down to communication, and it is definitely a two-way thing. I might think that my communication is perfect, but if my teenager isn't receiving it that way, and maybe if an AI companion could help with something like that, that'd be amazing.
I mean, to here, imagine they're in their room and you don't know what they're doing, but you know that you've noticed them crying, right? Or you know that something is going on, and they don't want you to come in, right? But you still wish for them to be able to share what's on their heart, what's bothering them with someone trusted.
Yeah.
And if there is no someone trusted, but you have an AI that is safe and where you know that it has the best of your child in mind, you'd rather have that child talk to an AI and get it out, right? Because it can really prevent, and it does, I know for a fact, prevent a crisis and prevent self-harm, prevent a lot of things that we don't want for our children. And raising children is hard. I mean, we had a mother write to us, and she had just given birth. And she had this overwhelming feeling of like, what do I do now? The body's going crazy, and there is this child, and I don't know what to do, and nobody's here, and who do I talk to? And so she started talking to the Panda, to the mascot of EarCake, and she felt so relieved. She found the solutions to her questions over time, but the most important thing for her was to be able to just get it out and to be heard and to be told that it's all right, that it's normal to feel overwhelmed, that it's normal to not know exactly how it all goes with a new baby. And we often see that people have, there is a discrepancy in how much communication you need and an ear you need at some point in your daily life, and how much another person is willing and able to give you. So, an AI can kind of level this up Some people just need to talk more and exchange and express themselves more than others. Couples, for example, and the guy says, "Oh, she talks so much," and she says, "I don't feel heard." Right there, you go. It's a recipe for huge trouble down the road, and it can be mitigated by her or him having AI to talk to, and sort out things in a conversational way. And the other part, maybe not having to be that, not having to play that role all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Expressing needs, communicating what you need from someone else boils down to communication. And if you can role play it, or if you can practice it with an AI, you have a better chance to saying it in the right way without, getting all that emotional when it counts.
Yeah. It's funny because you described something that happened literally earlier today, because I walked into my 17-year-old's room to tell him that the 10-year-old was watching Nightmare Before Christmas and he was crying. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? Like, I've been working all day. I wasn't aware that anything was wrong. And he was like, I don't want to talk about it. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to check in later and see if you're ready to talk about it. And later I checked in and he was like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm fine. Just trust me that I'm fine. And we went through a whole iteration of, like, eventually we got to joking and deciding that I'm just nosy. But that's, it's very just like, I want to make sure that you're okay. And the only way for me to do that as a parent currently is to be nosy about you and what's going on with you. But if I had someone that I knew that I was like, okay, well, you're doing this thing with the AI, and I know that that's a trusted app, and as long as you're telling me, like, I've dealt with it this way, then that's fine. I would still want to know what was going on, because yes, I am nosy.
Show that you care,
Yes.
But again, it's a timing problem. Even it doesn't have to be a teenager, but sometimes I'm not ready to talk about something that hurt me, or maybe that somebody said to me, because I need some time to process it, right? And so if I get help to process it, and then again, the nudge and the encouragement to go, now you go and talk to him or to her, that is so much easier. And again, we all deserve support. If we can do so without, great, fine, like happy. But if not, and I have been in situations like that, where I am so glad I have an AI for just 5 minutes, And imagine the difference. And again, like, therapists, counselors, all the human support is amazing and hopefully will never go away. But there are just things that they can't do. If I have a problem right now, I'm in the toilet and crying, for those 5 minutes where I need that, it's unlikely I will find the exact person right away that has the time and headspace and wants to hear about it right then and there. Right?
Yeah.
And that's where an AI comes very, very handy, and where we can empower ourselves, and where we can find, like, yes, we're not helpless. We're not at the mercy of life or of other people. There is always a space for our agency, our ownership.
Yeah.
And the more we do that, and the more we know our rights and we know what we can do, the more resilient we become. Over time, you kind of know the spiel, and you know how you react, and you know how you work, and maybe you start doing the breathing exercise on your own, and you don't need the reminder, and then that's fine, right?
Yeah. I love the way that you're describing this as just like, it's that in the moment support that you can't get from your therapist, because yes, you have an appointment on Thursday, but today's Monday. And yes, you can call, but they might not pick up the phone because maybe they're in a session right now. Or they might pick up the phone and they only have a couple minutes to talk, or they're like, okay, well, let's talk about this at your next session. And it's that in the moment, what's going to help me right now, really connection point to to complement therapy.
And also the memory, we have lots of therapists that use it with their clients because it helps them kind of make the best of their time. And again, I have to say, it's not the majority that can afford a therapist. It's a minority that can go see a human therapist or a human counselor support. But in those cases, because people record and it monitors, and you have all this data that you can, if you want to share with the therapist, you're giving your therapist so much information that they then can do their job much better. And you can send, for example, if you record something that's your thoughts or what you've been going through, you record it and it's there in the ear, you can just share it. You can show it, you can show the data, and the therapist will then be able to go much deeper and be much more specific than if you go to the session and for the first 10 minutes you try to remember what has been going on all week. Imagine you come into the session and the therapist already knows because they have the overview. Or you can immediately drill into something that has been very important during that week, and you don't have to kind of search for it, right? Humans are not very good at this. It's so dependent on mood and how we have been feeling, how tired we are, that we can recreate or retell a situation as it was in a moment. And given that the therapist is a professional that can go so deep and can do so many important things given the right information and the right, context, that is a huge enabler. And you will not always be in therapy. There may be times where your therapist is on a vacation, or I don't know, maybe you're just feeling better and you don't need, for the time being, you don't need any support. When you go back into a rough patch of your life, wouldn't it be nice to have all the data still waiting for you there, collected, all the knowledge stored, rather than you having to start from scratch again, So there are so many ways, and including, technology. With technology, we can enhance and recreate things that a style that a therapist has, a way, an approach. All these things can be replicated and stored and eternalized with AI. And we are just stepping into that to make the human support reach so many more people and be so much more powerful. And that's not the discussion of replacing someone. Again, it's really the discussion about closing that gap and making the help that everyone deserves more accessible, more affordable, more fair.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up accessibility and affordability, because that's something that I think, sure, maybe you've got great insurance, maybe you're using one of the mental health apps that connects you for a certain fee a month or whatever. There are affordable options generally for mental health care, but sometimes that's still not enough. And sometimes you are in a location where you don't have that access and you can't afford that. So is AI technology like this, is it currently fairly affordable for people?
Yeah, depends, right? I can only speak for ourselves. EarKick has a free version, free forever, that has everything you really need to go through difficult times and to feel supported by a companion. Still, there is a premium version, but even the premium version is less than one single therapy session for a year. The yearly subscription is less than you would ever pay for a session.
Yeah.
So, and I'm saying this on record. If somebody wants to use the app and can't afford it, shoot me an email. I want to know from you, and I'll make it. I'll give you access for free. Yeah. Because we really want people to be able to have at least that. And let me know. Affordability is really important because, again, there's so much you have to do so many things, so many steps to get to the support you need in life, whether it's, low level or it's really intense. And we sometimes forget that when we need support, we don't have the mind, the headspace, we don't have the energy to go through these different steps, to check whether insurance is going to pay, to do all these things that were we in our normal situation, were we all fit and fine, would seem like a little thing to do. But when you're in a bad place, everything is too much. Brushing your teeth is too much, right? Let alone pick up the phone and call someone and make an appointment and feel rejected. And there are so many things that just become monsters when you're not feeling well.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Absolutely. No, totally. I mean, totally true. You don't want to deal with insurance when you're already not feeling your best. Yeah. That's the worst.
No.
I don't want to deal with insurance on a good day.
One thing we realized when creating EarKick was that people also want to have a say on how that support is. They want to be able to customize some of it. And, the reality is, yes, you may be able to choose from a variety of mental health professionals, but there's only so much you can do because, you're in a certain state and or in a certain area, and the choices may be limited.
Yeah.
And maybe you do get into the system and you do get a session with someone, but that someone just doesn't gel with you. And it's nobody's fault. It's not your fault. It's not their fault. It just doesn't, people cannot change themselves just to make it fit. With an AI, you can do a lot. You can shape it. Like in our case, you can shape the panda. You can make it have certain qualities, whether you like it chatty or less chatty, more empathetic, less empathetic, more straight in your face. Maybe you wanted to have an idea about sports and fitness, or maybe you want to know more about another topic. Maybe you want to talk more in terms of music and art, all these things you can customize. And again, with the goal of making it more likely for you to accept support, for you to want to make those steps that you need to make, for you to feel encouraged, for you to feel addressed in a way that you feel comfortable. At this point, you can't do that with real humans. It's just like people are people, right? Yeah. And a lot gets lost in searching for the right person. And this is especially true for younger people, for teens, for Gen Z. They won't give it a second shot. You pair them with the wrong person and that's it for them. They're not going back. And we lose so much potential there.
Yeah. Yep. You've talked a lot about kind of the personalization that you can do through AI companions and through AI. Mm-hmm. What kind of data does AI use to provide those personal insights? Is that any kind of concern, or is it data you're probably already giving away?
Well, first of all, whatever you use, make sure that you read through the privacy section. Be aware of what you disclose, for example. In our case, you don't have to register to download the app and use it. That's very important because we want people to feel from the beginning that their privacy goes first. So you don't have to register. You're not asked any personal questions. That's very important because very often when you go through the onboarding of an app, you feel like they want to know everything about you and you don't even know what they're going to give you, right? You will never see, therefore, an ad or any advertisement of any sorts. That's important, right? Because if you're served ads, then the intention is to make you buy something or make you do something that actually it doesn't belong in such an app, to be honest. Then, again, are you the owner of the data? Yeah. In our case, you are. You lose your phone, your data is gone. That's the degree of privacy that we have. for you. And so, there is no need for an AI to know your address. There's no need to know specifics about you to be able to help you, and that's a good thing, right? You can use an AI, at least in our case, you can use the AI, and it will be super helpful without asking questions that could trace back to you in any way, right? And we created the whole system that it's totally detached. Also, even if you pay, your payment, all that stuff, credit card stuff is with Apple. It's not with us. Has no ties to you. If you give us your email because you want to get updates, it's completely detached from your journey. And all these things you can check. You can test that. You can ask questions. You can write this to the app creator and be curious. That's where I would expect people to be nosy. That's where I expect people to reach out. And that extra step, do it. Whatever you're using in terms of AI or technology in general, ask questions, ask for examples, ask the things that you want to know. And you'll be in a much better position to make a decision. Don't take my word, right?
Yeah. I love whenever you open up an app and it's just like, update all of these 10 things. And you're like, why do you want that? I don't get it. And I am guilty of just clicking through all of those privacy things. I know that there are some people who don't click through all of those things. But when it comes to apps like this, apps related to health and mental health especially, do definitely read them. That's real. That becomes really important. Anytime I download, like when I had when I had COVID, I had to sign up for some telehealth thing or whatever, and I took the time to read through everything to do that app before I did the appointment and got what I needed out of that. But yeah, I don't usually read them, but when it comes to health and mental health, you should definitely be reading all those things instead of just clicking through and saying, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And know yourself, think about what is the intention here, right? Again, like you go on TikTok or on Instagram, and their intention is to keep you hostage in there and to serve you as many ads as possible, right? And it's a financial incentive. Ask what is the intention behind an app or behind the solution. For example, in our case, in Earkick, since we don't have ads and we don't have all that, what's the point in trying to send you down rabbit holes and watch one video after another? It won't help, right? That's not our interest. Our interest is to reconnect you with the world, with the people around you, with your life as fast as possible. That's why the algorithm is created and trained in a way to always nudge you in the most charming and unwavering way to go talk to someone, to go hug someone, to go do things that are good for you. It's not going to tell you to watch a video about somebody being mean to someone else or going after the latest fad and horror and drama, because that's not good for you.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yep. Yeah. Are there any future innovations that you see on the horizon for AI and mental health? And I guess, what are you most excited about when it comes to AI and mental health?
We're just at the beginning of what is possible with AI. And I'm really excited about the ownership that you can claim with the help of AI. Whether it's, collecting, analyzing, and understanding your own data, for example, in mental health, or it's really, being able to, we send weekly reports for people who use Earkick. So they can see what has been going on, summarized in a little blurb, how their week was, what's the most important thing to pay attention to. And it's all in simple words. AI is so good at this, to give you information in a way that you can actually consume and process it at the right time. I'm super excited about how hyper-personalized you can make any product, any service, based on the data measurement that you collect, but also to have the user or the individual in the center of it all. They own it, they understand it, and they decide what to do with it. Mm-hmm. And that is possible with technology, that is possible with AI. And it's not just mental health, it's health overall. It's pursuing goals, having support to reach what you want to reach is so much more now possible for the individual to strive for it and to have support that they serve to get there. And we're much less at the mercy of some institution, at the mercy of some doctor or of some specialist expert that can tell us whatever they want, and we'll have to swallow and feel like we're these dumb little creatures. And so AI really opens up a whole range of empowerment opportunities, and I'm very excited about that. I'm also very excited about how these conversational agents, like Earkick, are getting better by the day. Mm-hmm. Again, we're just seeing the beginning of what is possible, and we're a lot of the tedious stuff, a lot of the confusion, a lot of the complexity can be resolved using technology, and where we can make much more of our lives, and where we can have more choice in where we want to put our energy, our money, our attention into. So I see so many upsides. And if we have the right intention, and if we are willing to go and learn about it and educate ourselves on AI, I think we all stand to gain a lot.
Yeah. It's exciting because I think you're right. We are at the very beginning of all of this. Yeah. And there's so much more to learn. Exciting is probably the right word. A little scary sometimes, but exciting is probably the right word.
Yeah. We should not go in there and just go like, this is the greatest thing and hallelujah. No, make sure it does generate sustainable value in your life. Mm-hmm. But do not cut yourself out just because you don't want to go through the trouble of testing things, asking questions, connecting with people around that topic, having a robust discussion. Those are non-negotiables, right? Because life is growth. Life is going through these phases. And life has a lot to do with how willing you are to work with what you have been given and to look for opportunities to make the best out of it.
Yeah. Do you have any advice that you would give to other entrepreneurs who are looking to create technology solutions in the mental health space?
Well, go do something. Mental health in general is such a huge topic, such a need for your innovation, for your ideas, for your energy. We cannot have enough people innovate in mental health. The only thing that you have to pay attention is that you're actually solving a problem, that you're actually creating value for a human on the other side. Don't do things just for the sake of it. That's the only thing that you have to be careful about and mindful about. But please go out and build. It doesn't have to be the latest whatnot. It just has to add value. And together with all of you out there, we can do away with this current crisis. We can do away with it. We can overcome that. It's a it's a collaborative effort, and every single one of you counts.
Yep, absolutely. All right, we're coming up on the last couple of questions here. So if anyone in chat has any more things they want to ask, make sure that you get those in now. But our next question is, what is your favorite life hack?
I have a lot. But I will say this. I sleep outside all year long. And even in the cold, in the heat, it doesn't matter. I don't recommend people do this all the time because it may not be everyone's thing, but do it once. It's it does something to your body, it does something to your mind. It opens up a whole new world to sleep outside. Whether it's cold or hot or windy, whatever it is, do it once and just let it sink in. You may learn something new and you may experience something that you didn't know you had. And so I do this constantly because I find it so helpful. I go to bed or I lay down, I see the stars. I realize how small I am and also how, irrelevant at some point. I realize how huge nature is, and my problems or perceived problems, kind of get into perspective through that. I feel and I hear the seasons. I employ all my senses, the nose, the haptics, the eyes, everything. And it's a hack that I use when I'm particularly nervous or when I need to wind down or I need to let go of something. Sleeping outside has done the job each and every time.
So how do you sleep outside? Is it like a hammock, a sleeping bag? Do you have a spot that you...
It's on the first floor. It's like some sort of balcony. It's not fully like covered, just part of it. So that means if it snows, then you'll end up some snow. But it's half covered. And I just have a mattress out there, and that's it. And the body gets used to it. And it's I've been measuring the data and all that, and I have a very deep recovery. I've been having very deep recovery since I do that. But again, it's also the mental part where it's so much easier to let go. And I'm aware that not everyone can do that, but maybe in your vacation or, expose yourself to nature and then see what it does to you and share.
Yeah, interesting. I'm not sure I'm willing to do that in the summer in Texas, but maybe, fall time, maybe even winter might be okay to do that outside in. But I mean, it's neat. And it reminds me of camping and just like going, and you're right. You can see all the stars and everything. And even if you're sleeping in a tent or something, it's different when you're sleeping out and about and connecting that way. It's really neat. I like that. Bitemark says, I want to say thank you so much for being here. This is a very exciting idea, and I look forward to seeing how it develops. I learned a lot and had a good time, so thank you for being here. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure.
Yeah. Well, it is time for our magic moment. So I have this magic wand here. If you could wave a magic wand and eliminate one common opinion or misconception or theory surrounding mental illness, disabilities, or talking about mental health, what would it be?
As I alluded to before, I think mental health needs a new narrative, a really new one. It has to be, we have to go away from them and us and the people who have some kind of mental health issue and the ones who have not, because there is no such thing. We're all on the spectrum and we should all be helping each other and having compassion for each other. And what frustrates me a lot is when people talk about mental health, though it was something that needs fixing. Mental health is life. Mental health is being human. Mental health and people who who go through mental health crises or have a mental health disorder that's chronic, they don't need fixing. They're not wrong. They need all kinds of things. They deserve support. They deserve all our love, all our patience, all our best intentions, all our ears, right? But they don't need fixing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not something that you have to get off your checklist. Not as an individual, not as a society, not as a species.
Yeah.
Mental health, all these emotions, all the way we're built, all the cards we were dealt. I'm not saying that everything is fantastic, but we should start telling a different story. And I envision a world where almost bragging about how you pay attention to mental health and how you value others who do so is something to show off, to flex with, just as we show off, I don't know, beautiful clothing or muscles that we built in the gym or diplomas that we got in high school or whatever. We should be showing off and being proud of our involvement with mental health and with our humanity, with our emotions, with the full spectrum of what we have as humans, and not feel like we're a subpar or something that needs improvement.
I like that. Yeah. I like that. It should be talked about more in a more positive manner. And yeah, I look forward to the day for sure. Well, Karin, I will open it up to you to just, if there's anything you want to talk about and anything you want to throw out there that we didn't talk about, I will post all of your socials one more time. So if anybody wants to connect with you, and while I do that, I'll just kind of give you the floor for a little bit.
Be a huge favor in downloading the app Earkick, testing it, being brutally honest, rating it 5 stars, hopefully, but also connecting with me because, again, as I said, this is a collaborative effort. The more people that give us feedback, the more people that use it, the more people that, pour into it, the better we can make this for billions of people, and join me on that movement, join me on that effort to provide support for everyone around the globe who deserves a companion, who deserves to be heard, who deserves to be valued, who deserves to feel understood. If you're not a fan of AI, you don't want to have anything to do with tech, that's okay. I'd still love to hear from you. All the questions, all the things that we haven't talked about, if you just shoot me an email or a message, I can make something good out of it, and I can learn, and I'd be thankful forever for any reaction. It can be difficult to be building kind of out into the dark. So you can imagine any reaction or any message means the world to me and my team. And yeah, let's really be part of the changing narrative. Let's all join forces in making mental health something that comes out of the shadows and is not, frowned upon, is not stigmatized, it's not shameful. And let's make it the hottest thing, the most sexy thing on earth.
That's great. Look, any engagement is good engagement sometimes. And I love that you're seeking that feedback, whether it's positive or, something that someone is concerned about. That shows that you're really here for the right reasons, which I think is fantastic. Is Earkick, you mentioned Earkick going through Apple. Is it only available for iPhone or is it on Android as well?
Right. But we'll keep you updated for the Android version. Yeah. And there's also, if you want to just play around with it, you can just go on the website and there's a web app where you could at least, check out the chat capabilities of Earkick. There's no measurement in there, but you can just kind of get a feel for it. Yeah. Again, it's like a app. It would then be a web app. And again, try out things. It doesn't have to be IRCHE, but try out things and be part of that new area that will be with AI. And share your opinion. Make yourself heard.
Absolutely. Well, Karin, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. And this has been a really fun conversation. So thank you.
Thanks to your great questions and everyone else's asked question.
Yeah, absolutely. Chat, give me just a minute. I'm going to disconnect with Karin and I will be right back. Stick around. She was really sweet afterwards, and now I'm going to cry. Okay, well, I loved that conversation. That was really great. I think I am going to take care of a couple of things offline. Oh, let me close this question queue. I'm thinking about dropping the gaming after Mental Health Mondays. I have been getting into the habit of like, oh shit, I still have things to do in order for the podcast episode to publish on Tuesdays. So I'm thinking about not being super consistent with the gaming part after Mental Health Mondays from here on out. But I don't know. We'll see. If I can get my shit back together, maybe I'll start gaming again after. But also, like, I kind of just want to go read and sleep right now after I'm done with that. So we'll see. Tonight is not the gaming night, and that is okay. I have official permission. Not that I needed it. I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. But don't worry, because I'll be back on Wednesday with just gaming. Although I do need to reschedule Tracy Owens. You'll remember that conversation. We had some technical difficulties. I need to reschedule that one. It'll probably be on a Wednesday, but I'm still working on that with her. So I hope y'all enjoyed that. I will catch you on Wednesday with some gaming. I promise. I want to try to play Don't Scream again, but they are 0% responsive in their Discord. It's insane how unresponsive they're being to everyone. Because it's not just me and they're going, hey, what's the deal with this? How come it's not working? It's a bunch of people and no one is responding to anything. So I'm like, I don't know. Maybe they just stopped working on the game, but it's really disappointing because it is coming up on spooky season, and boy, would it be nice to play some spooky games like Don't Scream, which Frost asked me to play. Hey, Tib. So yeah, I will be back on Wednesday, 8:30 Central. I hope to see y'all then. And thanks for being here tonight. I appreciate every time y'all show up and ask these questions with these guests and everything. I appreciate y'all. So, all right, y'all have a good night. Bye. Oh, put something that you're thankful for. What are you thankful for in the chat? And I'll talk about that while I switch the screen. I am grateful for my teenager and my non-teenager child, because even though they don't necessarily communicate everything that I wish they would communicate, at least they communicate like, you don't need to worry about it, you nosy mom, which sometimes is an okay thing, but it's frustrating for me, of course, because I am nosy a little bit. And I am just really thankful that they have the skills to communicate. You know what? I'm upset. You don't need to worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. I'm going to be okay. I am okay. It's all good, but I don't want to talk about it right now. So, as much as I complain about teenagerness and childness sometimes, they're really good kids. I'm thankful for a sister that exemplifies that it's okay to cry. A shining example to live up to. I cry so much. It's very, very true. Oh, wait. I have to tell you something. I'm going to turn my camera back on. Hold on. Almost never will I do this. Don't read this book. Don't read it. Don't let me give it to you to read. If I try to give it to you, it's because I'm mad at you, probably. It was awful. It was so good. If you skip the last chapter, can I rip the last chapter? What if I just tear the last chapter out? Okay, where did it end? Honestly, if I tear this much of the book out, it's not much. If I tear this part of the book out, it's a great book. It's weird as fuck. Horror. Weird. But it unfortunately does have the last chapter that ruins the entire book. Okay, that's all for real. See y'all Wednesday. Bye.